In today's show, the Blazers are gearing up for their trip to Vegas for Summer League 2025. We talk about the most exciting things to watch and everything you need to know. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. Coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're talking all things Trailblazers at Summer League. The team has hosted its first couple of practices. They're headed out to Vegas later this week, where they will kick off their slate of Summer League games. 5 guaranteed, and maybe more if they keep winning. We'll talk about it, the most exciting things to watch, including your boy Hansen, as well as some other notables and what's sort of at stake for the back half of the Blazers roster. Plus, no news is no news. We'll say happy trails to Jabari Walker, who's moving on to cheesesteakier pastures or something like that. We will do that all in today's program. Let's get into it. Let's start with this. The Blazers, Summer League begins for them in earnest Friday evening, July 11th, against the Golden State Warriors. Thomas and Mack Center. Let's go. That's the big gym. They'll be back in the big gym Friday when they play the Grizzlies. And then they'll close their Summer League slate Tuesday, and then Thursday they're there for basically a week from the 11th to the 17th. Every team in Vegas plays 4 games. Everybody gets a 5th. You can earn a 6th if you're lucky. How it works is the 4 teams with either the best record or the best point differential move on to the semifinals. Everyone else plays 1 extra game. The semifinalists play a semifinal game and with a chance to advance to the championship. So if you do win enough, you can play 6, but every team is going to play 5. Just the 5th one will be announced at a later date, and will come following that July 17th next week's. Or excuse me, 2 weeks from now, as you're listening to this, because you're listening to Monday, July 7th show. But the following week we will wrap up the Blazers trip to Summer League. But what we want to talk about is the most exciting things to watch in Summer League, because there is one. The most exciting thing to watch is without a doubt Hansen. I was advised by a resident living in China right now that it's very Western to call Young Hansen Young. It's like that's just like a very Western approach, and just is not part of Chinese culture how he would be addressed by someone like me who just straight up does not know him. So I'm going to call him Hansen in this episode. I'm going to call him Hansen for the kind of remainder of the time I'm talking about him, until I either get to know him a little bit better or I hear what his teammates call him, and whatever his teammates call him, I am sure as heck going to use that on the show. But he's the most exciting part of Summer League, without a doubt. Maybe most exciting thing for the Portland Trailblazers and Trailblazers fans. Although you could make a case Hansen is the most exciting part of all of Summer League. I think the most fascinating part about him is just how the Blazers use him. Like, in what ways do they deploy him? Because obviously he's their most important player. With all due respect to Ryan Rupert, who is, only a year older than Hansen and entering his third Summer League, but I think doesn't have the sort of star tantalizing upside that Hansen does. Hansen is the most exciting part of Summer League, and how they use him. How do they deploy him? What does he do, right? On defense, you can kind of guess what he's going to do. They're going to mostly play him back off the level from the screen. They're going to probably keep him in the paint, let him be big and in the way. I think there are some concerns about his lateral movement, although I'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't think his pretty fast north-south. It's just like how quickly laterally can he stay in front of quick guards. And obviously the Summer League is not the NBA, but there'll still be some of that to some extent. But I think we kind of know how he'll be used on defense. What he does on defense is another question, but the how, I think we know. On offense, though, it's interesting. The Blazers, offense. The basketball, the Blazers summer league team will be coached by Ronnie Burrell, who is brought in last year as part of like the sort of player development behind the bench type of role as an assistant coach. He doesn't have a PD title. He's a true assistant coach, but he does that type of stuff. That is his background as a coach in the league. Has been sort of the getting young players further along. I think it's a good opportunity for him to draw up plays, make some decisions. That's I think summer league is fun for young coaches like Burrell. So I'm excited to see how he deploys him. But they're going to run what they run in summer league is not like exactly 1-to-1 what they run during the regular season, but it gives you hints. It gives you little hints. Some players get their roles expanded. I'll talk about that in a later show later this week. But like, do they post up, Hansen? Does he get low post touches, like a direct post up where they set a screen for him to get space on the block, they throw it in the block, say, go to work, big dog, because he has great touch around the rim, he has good feet, at least from the what I've watched of him. Does that translate? Do they try to go to that? Is he not a low post guy? Because that hasn't really been their offense. No low post stuff. They just don't have they haven't really had a post up threat. That's not DeAndre Ayton's skill set at all. That's certainly Donovan Clingan can't do that. Rob Williams, none of their bigs are really post up guys. The post up guys have been Jeremy Grant, and they kind of killed the post up from Grant's offensive repertoire this year, much to the chagrin of Jeremy Grant. So like, where do they use him? Is he just a high post hub? And one of the things I'm really excited to watch, do they let him grab and go? And by that I mean, if he gets a defensive rebound, do they just let him dribble up the floor and play like Pau Gasol? Because I think one of the most exciting things about watching the highlights from him in the CBA is that he does get to do that in China. And he is a pretty fluid mover in terms of like up and down, north-south running. Like, he does move pretty well for someone his size, at least in compared in the Chinese league, and his ability to like push the pace in transition and throw dime up his teammates in transition at 7-1. That's like some of the most, to me, those are the most exciting plays from his from the YouTube scouting that I've done of him. Will they let him do that? Do they let him? Do they let him get into that? Obviously, they're going to run pick and rolls with him, but how does his individual offense work in the half court, and do they unleash him to have that freedom to go in the sort of the full court, or do they kind of keep it narrower for him so he can focus on things to here's where we think you can help? Like, do they give him a narrow kind of a narrow path to walk, which would be, I mean, disappointing for me, but a fairly reasonable fairly reasonable approach coaching wise. I'll be watching what skills pop. I'm just not going to care about the counting numbers that he puts up in Summer League. I think there is a level actually he could play at that it's like, if he's really good, I will wildly overreact and I will trot out some wild stuff on this show, right? But like, in terms of overall efficiency, it's like, Donovan Clingan really struggled on offense at Summer League, and it was like, yeah, he's going to be bad on offense, and he was bad on offense as a rookie, but it's not that big of a deal. It's like, okay, that's not, he doesn't have that, but what he does have is he's a really good defender. So what skills pop, right? What are the things that obviously you feel like Hansen could do this, and he can do this at this level, and he's clearly can do this in Summer League. How can that translate to an actual NBA game? I think that's like, what skills are just like clearly there for him as as the things he does best often. And then what looks rocky, again, I'm not going to care about the box score stuff in any meaningful way, but I do think it's like, if he's a really good passer, but he's not going to get double teamed in the post. So he's not going to be passing out of double teams. How does that work? What does that look like? And if the passing's not there, if he turns the ball over a lot, if the physicality's not there, it's like, what stuff looks rocky and what stuff you say, okay, that is going to be a problem. And you kind of, you point to those things. They're not like defined roads, but I think you start to get little hints, especially if he plays in all four games, might play in the fifth game, but usually some maybe more important guys don't play in the fifth game in Summer League. So it's like, if he plays in all four of the first games, like, yeah, let's see it. They do play a back-to-back Friday and Saturday, which I don't love, but that's fine. Because I hope they let him go, and hope they'll let him play a bunch. Even if he has like hey, we're not going to play him more than 26 minutes or something like that. I'd let him play each night. I want to see the general athleticism stuff. Like I said, I think north-south, he's actually pretty fast for how big he is. He's listed at 7'1", 260 in the Blazers roster. He's not like super thick or anything. He's not a chubby dude. He looks pretty slight for someone of his frame, but like he's very big person. Don't get it twisted. He's a very, very big person. And I do think for someone his size, he moves really well up and down the court. How does he move laterally? Does his functional strength work in Summer League? Or does he look like someone like, if his functional strength doesn't work in Summer League and he gets pushed around a little bit by some other physical players, is that just base? Is that just like he has to get strong? His legs have to get stronger, right? Or is that other stuff? Is it not working to establish position early? Like the sort of that general functional strength, functional athleticism stuff, plus just can he move? When he gets put in pick and rolls, can he move with guards that attack him? The NBA is a pick and roll league. Basketball is a pick and roll sport. If you are a big guy, they're going to put you in pick and rolls unless you're really, really good at it. And then they're going to do things to keep you out of pick and rolls. And then how do you help off when they keep you out of the dance? How does his athleticism, both the things I think he's good at and the things I think he's bad at, how does that translate? I'll be watching that very closely. And then just like, he has a really fun skill set. And so I think one of the fun parts about watching young players develop is like, he's probably going to try to throw some crazy passes. That's going to be fun, whether they work or don't work. He probably is going to try to dribble in the open court. That's going to be fun. Like he has some up and under moves or some sort of like show and go kind of post work. Like his feet aren't great laterally on defense from what I understand, but his footwork in the post is pretty strong. I want to see it. He's fun. I think he's the most fun, most intriguing, most fascinating part of Summer League because there is a level that he can play at that puts the whole thing into question, right? It's like, Hansen looks so stinking good that the whole boat seems to be headed in a different direction. And then there's a level that he would be very normal for a 20-year-old to play at where you're like, yeah, all right. All right. That's he'll have to get better, but I'm fascinated by him. Most exciting, most interesting, most fun part of Blazers Summer League. I'm dialed on Hansen. I cannot wait to watch him later at the end of this week. Other stuff. Let's talk about the two-way guys: C.J. Sissoko, Caleb Love, Ryan Rupert. Let's talk about all of them in the second segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, let's talk about FanDuel. Look, summer sports are here. Once Summer League gets going, FanDuel will have all of your Summer League action. But before that, you got baseball under the lights, you got golf out on the green, you got high-stakes footy action all over soccer pitches in America and abroad, and FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. So, if you are someone who is going to spend a lot of time watching sports, FanDuel is a way to get to add a different element to the action you are already following. FanDuel makes it easy to track your favorite sports right there in the app because they've got live box scores, they got live play-by-play, plus they got new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. So whether you're getting in on a same-game parlay or watching your bets ride out deep into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes you feel like you are part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right. So Hansen is the number one on my list. He's probably numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5, the most excited to watch. But there are some other players worth watching in Summer League. Importantly, no one from this Summer League roster is making the Blazers roster. But there is a two-way spot open. I mean, just like realistically, use that lizard brain of yours. No one's jumping into an NBA deal from this roster. But there's a two-way spot open. The Blazers have one two-way spot available. They've signed Caleb Love, Arizona by way of the great North State, and then. They've also C.J. Sissoko, who signed a 2-year two-way deal last year when they signed him, is still on a two-way contract. I'm interested in Sissoko because I think from watching and reading the scouting reports and watching some highlights of him, it's like he can really pass, and he's big. Like he's a 6'6", 225 or something like that, and he's a creative passer with like a big forward frame. The question for me is Is he good enough at anything else on a basketball court to make the really good passing skills matter? Because when you have a thing that you are good at, and passing is kind of innate, right? Like it's a skill. You can learn to read better and process the game better as you improve at basketball. But quite frankly, like the gift of being a good passer, which Hansen has in spades and Sissoko as well, is like that is like a thing in you as just a basketball player. That is a very, very, those level of like reads in the moment, that's pretty hard that's not really a skill guys develop. So if you do have that high level processing, high level, like the ability to pass off the bounce and all of those things and read plays at that speed, it's like, can Sissoko do enough other stuff that the passing matters? That's what I'll be fascinated by. And I don't think he's going to get the ball in his hands a ton, but he probably will get some secondary options. He'll probably get some moments where they're like, hey, we need you to go try to do stuff. And I want to see, is the handle tight enough to get where you want to go? Can he score either from as a standstill jump shooter or as someone who gets to the rim off the bounce or somewhere in between? I'm fascinated to see what other skills he can map onto the thing that we already kind of know he's good at. And okay, can really pass, but what else? And also like what level of defender he is. Summer League's not great for defense, but it does. If you're bad, it's obvious. It can be a little wishy-washy because you're playing against against worse shot makers. So sometimes like guys just like, hey, he held his whoever to like that guy shot a brick, but it's like, but I think like if you're bad on defense, the tape don't lie at Summer League, even if it is a lower level of competition. I've watched Caleb Love a bunch, the other Blazers two-way guy. Just signed as an undrafted player coming out of Arizona, spent 5 years in college, shot under 40% from the floor, and was a 5-year college player. Pac-12 player of the year, hit one of the most important shots in Carolina history. Go Tar Heels. But he's a high-volume, low-efficiency scoring point guard. I don't think he's an NBA player. I've watched him a bunch. I don't say that about other players that I haven't watched a bunch because I haven't watched him a bunch. I've watched Caleb Love play hundreds and hundreds of minutes of college basketball. I would be stunned if he's a pro. If he proves me extremely wrong, I'll be happy to be wrong. I am skeptical of it because I don't think he's a great playmaker and I don't think he's a particularly efficient shooter. Good athlete. Plays with an incredible level of confidence. He is not going to be scared at any moments, but I just don't see it with his type of player. And I've seen him enough to have a fairly firm opinion on what I believe his ceiling is as a pro. But like we'll see, right? Like the Blazers certainly know a lot more about scouting collegiate level players than I do. Shout out to Caleb Love's former teammate Justin McCoy, who's also on this roster, Blazers Summer League roster. I think let's do Ryan Rupert real quick. Are they gonna let Ryan Rupert cook? That's a question I got. That's in the notes. Are they going to let him cook? Because this is the type of league or type of opportunity for Roops to get on the ball and go to work. Show that you are a guy who can, at this level, dominate. Do I think he will? Probably not. But I thought Rupert had a kind of a bumpy showing last year in Summer League and then didn't really get much opportunity in his second NBA season. He's, Blazers picked up his option. He's always going to be a project. He's 21, right? And he's came into the league as a teenager and is growing up as physically, mentally maturing as along as he tries to develop his NBA skills. We didn't get to see much of Rupert last year. I think he's a better shooter than I ever thought he would be, but none of the other stuff has, standstill shooting has not been elite enough to matter. And he doesn't do anything enough other stuff. But Summer League is the perfect time to get the opportunity to do other stuff, to give him the ball and say, okay, you're going to be like the lead initiator for this next 4-minute stretch you're in the game. Get him in pick and rolls with Hansen and just let Rupert make reads, make decisions, make pass shoot decisions, drive swing decisions. I want to see all of that. I want to see him. I want the Blazers to put too much on Ryan Rupert's plate and find out what the level of too much is. because if it's expanded, he can do more than we thought, then that's interesting to know. And if it's, he can't do this, his play, it's too much. This is a perfect setting for Rupert to get kind of too much stuff on his plate. I'll mention some other guys, and I'll talk about no news is no news in the third segment. Plus, happy trails to Jabari Walker. Join me in that third segment. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you still listen to Locked On Blazers. A couple other names to know in like the grand scheme of watching the Blazers in Summer League. James Bouknight played for the Rip City Remix. He's on the roster. Dmitro Skopintsev is another big man who will probably be the Blazers' backup center. He played on the remix. Cameron Tyson, a 6'2" guard, he's on the remix. I think all of the guys that are kind of within the organization are worth watching. And Sean Padula, who the Blazers reportedly signed to, I don't believe the team has announced it, but it's been reported that they signed him to an Exhibit 10 deal. An Exhibit 10 deal is effectively a training camp contract that offers guaranteed money for Sean Padula to play for the Rip City Remix. It's an incentive for him to join the Blazers G League team, and it's a little bit of money for him to stay within the organization and play with the G League team. So you would assume he's a future remix guy as well. I am intimately familiar with Sean Padula because he played at Virginia Tech and kind of was a thorn in my Tar Heels side, and also ended their season in the NCAA tournament, most recently with Ole Miss, when he beat them down in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. Yikes! Or the round of 64, I should say, because Carolina was bad and they had to play a play-in game. Okay, no news is no news. The Drew Holiday trade not officially announced yet. No reason to get it done. I'm sure the Blazers are, as reportedly, like, the Kevin Durant trade is going to be expanded to 7 teams. I'm not sure that, as I'm recording this, I don't believe that trade is official, but it has been official what it's all going to happen. It's going to be a 7-team trade, the largest trade in the history of the league. There are reasons you expand the trade so other teams, because some teams can conduct a trade as a single transaction, and some teams can conduct the exact same trade as multiple transactions, because the NBA and the CBA are extremely stupid. They're not extremely stupid. They're just more complex than need be for casual fans. There could be value for the Blazers finding an expansion of the Drew trade, even if it's nothing for them. It's just roping more teams into a trade between Boston and Portland, because more teams could benefit. We will see what that looks like. But no news is no news on that front. We're just waiting for that to become official. I am fairly certain it'll become official early next week. Happy trails, Jabari Walker. Jabari Walker, who the Blazers did not extend a qualifying offer to, making him a unrestricted free agent, signed a 2-way contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. Congrats on finding your next spot. I think it's pretty fun that the Sixers back end of their rotation, former Blazer greats from the 22-23 season, and Trendon Watford and Jabari Walker. Walker is like a pretty darn good rebounder. I think he has some versatility on defense, although I don't think he's like a really high-level defender, but he has some versatility on defense. He's just probably a 6'7" center, because that's probably his best role, considering. But like, I'm not surprised. I guess I'm not like shocked that he got a 2-way deal, and I'm not surprised that the Blazers let him go, because, as I mentioned on the show several times, his qualifying offer was higher than the minimum contract. So the Blazers would have been agreeing to more than the minimum to sign him. And so my assumption was that they would let him go into unrestricted free agency. And once you do that, it's really hard to sort of mend the fences, be like, we'd love to have you back at less money, big dog. Like, you're just going to pursue other opportunities. And he did. I'm somewhat surprised Jabari did not get a 1-year minimum deal somewhere else and had to settle for a 2-way contract, which is a fairly significant pay cut for what would have been his role as a minimum player. I wouldn't say stunned, but I think it speaks to the general market for Jabari Walker that that's what he chose to go with, and didn't choose to kind of like, hunt it down somewhere else. I think it speaks to kind of what his general market was. I wouldn't be surprised if Walker ends up being a long-term NBA player. I wouldn't be surprised. But I do not think he's the sort of going to be a one that got away for the Blazers. Although he is really easy to root for. He's a fun dude to root for because he plays his butt off all the time. Like he's someone who I will, if he does well in Philly, I will root for him because he seems like a good dude. In my interactions with him, I've former guest on the podcast if you really remember, but. Like someone I will have no trouble rooting for because seems like a good guy and on the court very easy to root for with his style. Plays hard as heck and plays hard as heck despite some of his skill limitations. Although I will say this as just a small Jabari aside, I think he's a better passer than he has shown at the NBA level. I think he sees the floor pretty well. He doesn't always make the pass very well, but I think he sees the floor very well. Even as a short roll guy, it's like. He's just probably a center, and he's just like not big enough to play center. That is a challenge for him. But if he shot really well on a tiny little sample last season, boosted by a 6 for 6 shooting night in Boston, a career night in Boston. You take those away, it's not nearly as pretty, but you don't take those away because he actually made all the shots. I watched him, 6 of them went in. He took 6 of them, all 6 of them went in. If the shooting sticks with Jabari, he's an NBA player for a long time, and he did shoot very well at the end of last season. That is going to do it for today's show. We will watch the news. The Blazers do have a roster spot to eventually fill out, even with even once the Drew Holiday trade is completed. They're still at 13 guys. They've got a two-way spot to fill. They'll probably fill that in Vegas. If I had to guess how it'll work in Vegas, none of the players on the Blazers Blazers Summer League roster will get the final two-way spot, but someone in Vegas will. I think that's the value of being in Vegas for a week and watching every NBA team and all these fringy NBA guys is you can find someone that you want to bring into your program who you may have previously scouted or like see them pop for some time in Vegas. I think that's worth noting. Later this week, probably heading into the Friday show, I'll talk about kind of how I watch Summer League and like more drill into like things. How I will go about paying attention to the games because I think that's important. So what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.